In this video, I really want to talk to you about when less is more when it comes to bass fishing. This is something that you can apply to a lot of different lakes in different ways, and it can really help you to dissect those lakes in order to get around the fish a lot quicker. So in this video, we're going to talk about a few different ways, both in deep water and in shallow water, where you can really kind of do this, which is looking for less, which actually ends up being a lot better for you. Now, before we get into it, this video is brought to you by Gills TV. Gills TV is the content-based website and app that I recently developed that is devoted to helping anglers learn how to find fish. And you're gonna learn this by watching some of the best anglers in the world. I mean, Edwin Evers, Christian Greico, Hunter Shryock, Justin Atkins. I'm getting ready to film with Alex Redwine. There's a number of different people that I'm fishing with, and they show you out on the water how to actually break down that body of water given the circumstances that they have. It may be really windy, it may be rainy, you may be dealing with all kinds of different conditions out there, and they're gonna show you how to do that. Now, that's just one big benefit of Gills TV. Also, anyone who's a member gets 10% off all fin fishing apparel. I'm also gonna be hosting some live sessions where you can actually ask professional anglers different questions. Also, right now up until April 20th. April 20th is the last day that anyone who becomes an annual subscriber will actually get a $100 coupon to fin fishing. So you can use that $100 gift card to buy sun shirts, hats, gloves, whatever it may be. So I'm gonna leave some links down below in the description. Thank you to all of you who have already signed up. I just wanna continue to grow that community. Now, let's talk about this whole thing about when less is more. Now, recently, I had the privilege being able to go out there and fish with Justin Atkins on a body of water. And the video that I'm referring to is actually dropping on Gills TV tonight. He actually went out there and fished in some colder water without using forward-facing sonar at all. He actually turned it off. It was just really cool to kind of see him go back to the roots of doing some traditional bass fishing. But in that video, he kind of found that there were some fish in a certain depth zone. Once he started catching a few, they all tended to be in kind of this 10 to 12 foot. Now, later in the day, he ended up going up into a creek arm, and when he got into there, one of the biggest things that I heard him say was it's too shallow. And when he said it was too shallow, I looked down at the depth, and we were sitting in about 12 foot of water. So I immediately kind of thought, well, isn't this kind of the depth zone that you wanted? And the thing about it was really about 10 or 12 foot of water in that creek, literally all over the creek. The whole bottom was in that depth zone. And so very easily put, if you are finding a lot of fish in that same depth zone, for example, on this day, it was that 10 to 12 foot. If you are in an area where everything is 10 to 12 foot, those bass can be absolutely anywhere as well. So what he was really wanting to do was find an area that had a little bit more depth, maybe 15 or 20 foot in the center of that creek, where those fish would really be confined again and really help you to pinpoint them a lot better because they're gonna be in a smaller zone. Now, I had never really thought about this when it came to structure before, but it made complete sense as soon as he said it. I've actually always done this exact same thing, but when it comes to shallow water fishing and cover, and specifically when it comes to fishing around grass. There's been a number of different lakes that I've been to over the years. I mean, lakes up in the northern part of the country, lakes in the southern part of the country, like Florida, and lakes anywhere in between, where there are these extreme vast areas that are nothing but grass. And it can be a number of different grass. Like sometimes it's lily pads for forever. Sometimes it's different matted vegetation for forever. Sometimes it's like a 6-7 foot zone of, milfoil that just extends for hundreds of yards. And the thing about it is that all of that potentially can hold a bass. And so what I have found a lot over the years is that instead of focusing on those areas where there's maybe 100-yard area, a huge flat with a ton of lily pads on it, sometimes finding these small little sections, maybe where it's the lake just kind of turns in a little bit, and it's a little bit deeper close to the bank. And because it's deeper, those lily pads only maybe are in a 10-yard section, and they maybe extend for a long ways, but it's a lot less cover to actually dissect. And so although there might be more bass in that huge section of the body of water, that huge 100-yard section of lily pads, they're a lot more confined in that 10-yard section. So if you're trying to figure out, are the bass in a certain type of cover, sometimes I really like to find those areas where it's a lot more confined. I'm gonna be able to get up there, flip and pitch into some really small areas, and I'm going to be able to figure out whether they're in lily pads, or maybe they're in a different type of grass, or maybe they're not even relating to it at all. You know, sometimes you can fish all the lily pads you want and you realize that you're not getting bit. And so therefore you have actually helped yourself to not waste a tremendous amount of time fishing that huge area. Now, sometimes if you find fish in that little section of lily pads, you know, and you can kind of look for more of that around the lake, a lot more confined areas, but at least it gives you the pattern. Hey, those fish are in lilies. Now you know you can go to that huge expansive area and kind of be a little bit more methodical, because you're not second guessing whether fish are in there. You know that they're there. You just got to find where they are in that area. And so to me, a lot of times out there on the body of water, when you have less, it can mean a lot more because of how efficiently you can fish through that cover. And you can apply this to so many different things. I mean, it can be docks, it could be laydowns, it could be different structure elements. When you have less, sometimes it's more. And not only that, I want to take this to the nth degree, because not only when you have less is more, but a lot of times isolated cover and structure are your number one way to catch big ones. You know, all of us out there, whether you are a tournament angler or you are a non-tournament angler, you just go out there and like to have fun fishing, we all like to catch a big bass. And over the years, I have found that on certain lakes near me, some of the areas that produce the biggest bass year after year after year are really isolated pieces of structure or cover. It may be a small little rock pile with a little bit of a drop on the end of it, but it's really small. I mean, maybe the size of the front deck of my boat. I have seen certain stumps before that year after year, they produce big fish. And the thing about these type of areas that I have found is that you don't typically run up on these things and catch 5 fish on them. Sure, every now and then you might catch 5, 6 fish on them. What happens most of the time is you might only catch 1 fish off that, like when you go there, but a lot of times that 1 fish is gonna be a big one. Like for whatever body of water that you are fishing, it's going to be a big one. I saw this a number of years ago. I was fishing a lake that had a ton of different brush piles down in Tennessee. There was brush piles all over the place. Like you would go on a point, there'd be tons of brush piles. And I got onto a section of the lake where I felt like I was seeing a lot less brush piles, and I almost left out of that area. But then I just found this one. It was an isolated pile all by itself, and that thing had some fish on it. And I could always, like, I wouldn't always go up there and catch like a ton of fish, but it seemed like every time I pulled up to it, I pulled up to it a few times a day, and I would catch at least one off of there. And so a lot of times in bass fishing, you may see these areas that are huge, that have a ton of cover, that look great, but if you can kind of find those areas where things are confined, it gives you those clues a lot faster and helps you to break down those bodies of water a lot faster. So guys, I hope you understand what I mean by this concept. If you want to kind of see more, you can check out the Gills TV link right here. Even check out that video with Justin Atkins that drops tonight. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.